Welcome back to Squawk Box. Mike Bloomberg's entrance into the Democratic primary has now thrown a bit of a twist into the race, made all the more formidable by Bloomberg's immense personal wealth, meaning he can match almost any other campaign's expenditures, advertising and otherwise. Take a look at Bloomberg's chances to win the nomination. This, according to online platform Predictit, where users can trade shares on who will win the primary. Over the last month or so, Bloomberg has surged at the expense of Elizabeth Warren. Joining us right now for more on all this is Sara Fischer, media reporter at Axios, who I read regularly in the newsletter, and William Cohan, who's here, author of Four Friends, Promising Lives Cut Short, also, of course, a CNBC contributor. Thank you both for joining us. I guess the question is, we even look at that data, and does it really cut? I mean, it clearly cuts against Elizabeth Warren to some degree, but I would assume it cuts more against, like, the Bidens of the world.
Well, look, it's very early into his candidacy, and the good news is, I think, for America, is that he's actually doing it this time, as opposed to fooling around and thinking about it and overanalyzing it. And I don't think we've ever seen anybody with quite this substantial amount of wealth run for president. I mean, Tom Steyer has seemed to have unlimited funds.
But he's not spending it.
Right. Bloomberg isn't spending it?
No, I'm saying Steyer's not spending it.
Well, he's had this impeach campaign going on for a year. I mean, but now Bloomberg can literally spend unlimited money wherever he wants, whenever he wants. Tim O'Brien has been dispatched to the States to run the digital campaign on a daily basis. I mean, who knows what this guy is going to accomplish here?
But Sarah, what do you think of that? Why is Tom Steyer, for example, who has, has a lot of money, he could be spending it, and maybe he is, but I don't know if it's working.
He actually is spending it. If you were to take a look at the TV ads only, Bloomberg is spending a lot. But in terms of all spending, Steyer's beating him by just a little bit. I think what you're seeing here is that these candidates recognize that they have a long haul. They want to spend a lot in the primary election, sure, but they also need to save a lot for get out the TV ads later on down the line in the general. And so I think that's why you might see him be a little bit conservative now. Also, to Bill's point, Tom Steyer spent $32 million in ads for Hillary Clinton. He's spent since then on the need to impeach campaign. He has spent a lot of money. He'll continue to spend a lot of money. The question is, will he outspend Bloomberg?
But how much money, do you think that Michael Bloomberg has to spend to get that true name recognition around the country?
I was going to say, he's got to spend a ton of money. I mean, look, he's missed out on campaigning all throughout this season. And on top of that, he hasn't been in public office for a little while. I mean, people in New York know a lot about Mike Bloomberg and his record. But do people around the country know? I mean, maybe they know he stands for guns.
Does it cut both ways? If, for example, there was an article that said he spent $500 million advertising, would people look at that and say that's even more disqualifying because he's a billionaire, because he's able to outspend, he's buying the election? We had someone on yesterday who said that. Meanwhile, with people on the other side who say that Elizabeth Warren's trying to buy the election in a different way.
They're trying to use your money to buy the election.
I mean, look, I think we're uncharted territory with Mike Bloomberg. He could spend $5 billion, $10 billion, $15 billion. It's not going to matter to his bottom line or his philanthropy, right? And he can just continue. Usually candidates get out of the race because they run out of money, right? Even if the voters don't necessarily go for him early on, he can stick with it and continue to spend his money in all sorts of interesting and creative ways, and he can be there to the finish, and it won't even affect him. I think he's finally decided, after 4 years of dithering about it, that he has to do this regardless of what happens.
But there's two pieces of this. One is how much you can spend. The other is messaging. And landing on the message that resonates with either, I don't know if you want to call it the base or the party or whatever, given the primaries that they're in. Do you think that he's landed on the right message in terms of how the advertising is being approached?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's two main ads that he's running in those 100-plus media markets. Both of them touch a little bit on his record, but actually a lot of them talk about his plans on things like healthcare, stuff he hasn't talked about. What you're going to see with Michael Bloomberg, he said he's going to invest $100 million in digital ads. Look for him to use those digital ads to garner data about what voters want to hear from him, and he'll leverage that data to inform his TV ads down the line. I think a lot of people are focusing on Bloomberg's TV strategy. Remember, he just hired former Facebook CMO, and he wants to use that expertise to really lay out a digital strategy where he can get ads to inform that messaging.
But here's a creative question for the creatives who make these ads.
Yep.
So interesting to me that in the 2 ads that are out there, he doesn't talk in the ads. All voiceover, meaning you're seeing images of him, you're hearing about him, but you're not hearing from him. And whether, maybe, by the way, that may very well be the strategy because, you know, he did an ad, I don't know if you remember the ad on 60 Minutes that he did on behalf of the Democratic Party where he was talking to camera. And I don't know if that was as persuasive, frankly.
Well, don't forget, this is a guy who also at the Republican convention in 2004, stood up and praised George W. Bush, and this is the guy, and I'm throwing my support about him, and this is what he did for us in New York City after 9/11. All of which may have been true, but you know that can be played repeatedly too, which isn't going to really help him in a Democratic
Do you think
primary.
that Mayor Bloomberg can ever, or the former mayor, I should say, ever overcome this idea within the base? I think within the base, or at least the Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders part of the party, that he is disqualified because of the money that he already has.
Never going to overcome that.
Impossible.
Probably never going to overcome stop and frisk either. He's just never going to overcome that. Question is, are there enough people in the middle of the spectrum to get him to the nomination? I think if he gets the nomination, which is a very big if, I think he can beat President Trump.
I have a question for Sara, actually. Sara, I had a thesis about this, that the thing that really stopped Elizabeth Warren's momentum was tax policy and something of a taxpayer revolt. When it became clear how she was going to pay for all these plans, her momentum in the polls just absolutely stopped. If you look at the elections a couple of weeks ago, even places like Washington State voted through their voter advisory system against taxing corporations, against luxury taxes. Is the issue here that's driving Warren's dissent and the ascendancy of Pete Buttigieg and the like, is this more about taxes and tax policy and who pays for all these grandiose plans? In which case, Bloomberg has a chance, if he talks about those issues, to gain some momentum, or am I off on that?
Sara?
I tend to agree. I think that a lot of voters have progressive outlooks, but they, at the end of the day, do worry about whether or not they're going to have a strong economy, whether or not a strong economy is going to help them support with jobs. And if they think that a lot of money is just going to be thrown at these programs, I think that's going to push some of them away. Going back to what Bill was saying quickly about Michael Bloomberg's sort of messaging strategy, can he overcome things? I completely agree. I think it's going to be really hard for him to overcome a lot of these narratives. But what he has going for him is he sees a vacancy that you just pointed out. People are starting to get wary of that progressive message, and he's going to take advantage of that.
And I also think quickly that people, one of his strong messages is, I'm the anti-Trump, I can beat Trump, we have to beat Trump. It's an existential crisis in this country, and I think a lot of people are realizing that the Elizabeth Warrens and the real progressive wing of this party cannot beat Donald Trump in a regular election, and Mike Bloomberg, I think, could.